Buddy, Gwen Lawrence here. Thanks so much for choosing to listen to me during this short talk, and hope to inspire you and talk about perseverance in your life and in your career. And I certainly have had a big dose of my own, and I have a lot of examples and stories to share with you today in hopes that it can inspire you next time you meet a hard spot in your life. But I want to start by reading to you from my daily own book, something that I read to my students every day. And I read this yesterday and I thought it was pretty timely. So let's start here. Working through hard days. We all have days that seem endlessly difficult and hard, when it is as if the odds are stacked against us and we just cannot get a break as one challenging situation follows another. We may feel as though we were standing in the ocean being hit by wave after wave, never able to get a full breath. Sometimes it's necessary or worth it to stay in the fray and work our way through. Other times, the best idea is to go home, take the breath we need in order to carry on. If the only choice is to get through it, a hard day can be a great teacher. It will eventually end, and we can look back on it, taking pride in the stamina, courage, and ingenuity it took to hold our ground. In hindsight, we may also see how we could have done things differently. This knowledge will be valuable when we face hard days in the future. As we are deciding whether to work through it, we must trust our gut and know that sometimes a timely retreat is the best way to ensure a positive outcome. Getting space can remind us that external circumstances are not the whole picture. Once we catch our breath and recenter ourselves, we will be able to determine our next move. With a little perspective, we may even find the inner resources to change our attitude towards what is happening and begin to see that what we viewed as hardships are actually opportunities. As our outlook changes for the better, our actions and the circumstances will follow suit. Sometimes all that is needed is a good night's sleep. No one is immune to having a hard day, and these are usually the times we can learn the most. If we could find it in our hearts to examine the day and maybe make a single small change in perception, we could ease our pain and greet the next one that much wiser. This really says it all about what I want to talk to you today. And the grand scheme, the grand theme is perseverance. If a situation that is presented to you is a tough one or even an easy one, really take some time to think. Don't jump into an answer here or there. Just really take a pause. Is this your perceived path, or is this a path that the universe has given you? The main point here is you decide. Will you define this opportunity or situation as a stumbling block or as a stepping stone? And really boils down to you. It's your decision. You decide. It's time for you to take your power back. And when we're talking in terms of life and career journeys, it's not about perfection. If you expect to always be perfect, you will be disappointed. I promise you that. Perseverance is about a mindset, especially now in this world that we're living in. There's so much false impressions of perfection or so-called perfection because of social media, and this can leave you super frustrated and disenfranchised and throw you a little bit off your path. I want to share a few stories with you today and my perspective and experiences to help you. So next time you have to decide, is it a stumbling block or a stepping stone? Maybe one of these stories will hit you a little bit. You'll remember and you'll choose the right way. But over 30 years ago, when I first started working, I decided the best thing for me was to be on my own and not work for anybody. I tried a little bit, but it wasn't the best thing for me personally. And while that seems amazing and easy. It is far from the truth. This means I chose a life of a career where I am constantly testing, retesting, and being tested. I'm constantly trying, although I really don't like the word try, because to me, trying is an excuse for future failure, because you could always say, oh, well, I tried. So when I say try, take that lightly. It's a life of hustling, constantly pushing and planning, but it's the one that I chose. And it all really started during my first pregnancy. I was working with my midwife, and she asked me if I was going to film the birth, and I thought, whoa, no, I'm not going to film the birth. And she goes, look, film everything. You can always erase, but you can never redo most things, particularly true in a birth. So I thought, okay. And I really started filming everything I was doing when I was teaching. I started out as a massage therapist and a trainer, and eventually the training rolled into being a yoga teacher. And I really started just compiling a library. And not only did it give me a library, but it also gave me a perspective about who I was, what my voice was, and what I was really good at and what I was really bad at. So it was amazing to me, and I still film everything to this day. So that little advice from my midwife translated into the bulk of my work. And before I get into some of my own personal stories, I just want to give you a few quotes that you might want to put on paper, hang them up, and look at them every day. And the first one, I wrote them down so I didn't mess them up for you, is if you hear the answer no, you're asking the wrong person. And if it's something that you really want, keep asking until you hear the answer yes. And I'm going to show you an example of that in my life. But my absolute favorite quote is, a person who walks in purpose doesn't have to chase people or opportunities. Their light causes people and opportunities to pursue them. Sometimes when I'm feeling down and I heard a no and I have to put on my big girl pants and buckle up my boots, that quote really helps get me through. So now let's turn to the pep talk. So I'm going to tell you, hopefully you're not bored by these, but a couple of really specific examples, more than a couple, so of how perseverance really was represented in my life and how I chose stepping stone, not stumbling block. So the first one I'm going to tell you is my very first job after passing the state boards for being a licensed massage therapist was working with David Letterman. And some of you younger people probably won't even know who he is, but a famous nighttime talk show host. And this was the most amazing gig for me, being a young couple with babies. But it was also very difficult because it meant that I had to work every night at 10:30 at night. So my husband had to do bath and bed with our babies. And it was a 4-year amazing gig. He was very supportive of our family. Even when I ended up being on bed rest with one of my pregnancies, he continued to pay me as an independent contractor, which was a game changer and life changer for my family. And as quick as it came, one day, 4 years in, totally loyal, always on time, every night of the week at 10:30. Didn't matter if it was Thanksgiving, didn't matter if there was a snowstorm. I had to be there, and I was. But as soon as it came, as quick as it came, I got a call from his assistant that his old person was coming back from, I think, 4 hours of learning journey, and he was going back to her, and it was over. And we were devastated, needless to say, and I thought, what am I going to do now? How am I ever going to fill this time in? And I remember literally crying for a couple of days, and then thought, got to figure it out. So I just got up, and again, like I said before, tested, tried, hustling, pushing, and it became one of the main ways that I launched and got more celebrity clients into my life, because I had this amazing reference now for many years. So I used that as a stepping stone to get more celebrities and to snowball my career further. So there you go. One that could have been very devastating. It could have just left me on my butt, but it didn't. Another one was, long story short, I am or was the yoga coach for 7 pro teams in New York. One of them, and my first one being the New York Giants. I started as a massage therapist and parlayed that into showing them their incredible need to do yoga. And the rest is history. I was there for 16 years with Tom Coughlin and went through 2 amazing Super Bowl seasons. It was just one of the most satisfying pieces of my work. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And as sports go, coaches come and go. When coaches come and go, so does their staff. Coach Coughlin left, another coach came in, and he kept me the first year, but I think he saw that my loyalty really laid with Coach Coughlin. And second year, when I was called in, which is usually my time to give them my new ideas and how we can, up our game every year, it was a gentle release of my job. Coach wanted to go a different direction, and that didn't include me. So 16 years of dedication to that team in an instant was gone. Not going to say it didn't hurt. Not going to say I wasn't sad. I was, but again, parlayed that and just went hard and fast on other teams and started writing my training kits, my Power Yoga for Sports training kits, which I have for 13 different sports. And this way I can offer my services to the entire world, from Little League to pro. So it really gave me the time and perspective to do more online courses. And then another story, which is, if you hear the word no, you're asking the wrong person. I had already written 2 books, but they really truly weren't the books that I wanted to write. They were books that publishers had approached me to create. And I was still on the pursuit to write my book, the book that was going to tell the story of my life's work and working with athletes. So I pitched to many publishing houses, but I really wanted to be with Human Kinetics, the best publishing house for this type of book, training, and sports. And I got it all together. I gave it to them, and my answer was no. But I was not going to stand for it this time. I gathered, I called, and I talked on the phone instead of having it on paper and emails and them not hearing that passion in my voice. And long story short, I got the book deal, and that's teaching Power Yoga for Sports. And that really is my life's work boiled down into one book, the book I always wanted to write. So I could have taken that no and then just turned the page and moved on, but I knew that this was one thing I wanted. I needed to persevere, and I did. I'm going to end with this story. I had a lot more examples for you, but I don't want to bore you. Just about the tail end of 2019 into 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, being someone in the health and fitness world, this was a devastating blow, not only to me, because I've chosen a life of really good decisions and health, and it was what I taught to everybody. If this could happen to me and I'm doing everything right, what's going to happen to everybody else? But it was a blow to my clients as well. And so I had to go for a myriad of tests, surgery in 2020, and then a long, pretty aggressive round of radiation treatment. So this in and of itself is probably could be considered the universe throwing that block at me and testing me, and I could have gone into this little puddle pity party, but I didn't. And if that wasn't enough, at the very tail end of my radiation treatment, I really didn't even miss a day of work, because I got the bulk of my treatment and surgery during Christmas break. And then after that, the very tail end, came the pandemic. And I know a lot of you were tested with your perseverance during the pandemic. I mean, who wasn't? But okay, we're in lockdown, I'm home, I'm healing anyway. But 10 days in, I thought, oh, I can't just sit here anymore. This isn't a vacation anymore. I had to really, what now I think is a big word for everybody, pivot. Pivot my thinking, pivot my business, because as an independent contractor, I chose to work on my own. If I don't work, I don't get paid. So what was I going to do? I decided to cut my rates and tell all my clients we're going to go virtual. I don't know how long this is going to be, but we're going virtual. And all but one client was on board, and we started. It was a little rocky in the beginning, all of us learning, all of this computer stuff and Zoom and which, program are we going to use to go virtual in each other's homes. But we did it. And that really was a pivotal point to choose stumbling block or stepping stone. I could have really spiraled into my cancer treatment and why woe is me, but I live and get fed by my clients as much as I hope they do by me. So this was really important. And the beautiful thing that happened was I went from driving 33,000 miles a year, which is a lot of stress, a lot of flat tires, a lot of traffic jams, to having a 14-step commute to my home studio, and I will never go back. Now I work with clients all over the country weekly. I am so happy being a hermit. So I really did catch that stone from the universe and place it in a perfect place so that I can step and move forward. We always want to move forward. So that was amazing. So those are a couple stories where you can see that it could have really gone the other way, but you really had to have the mindset to place that stone as a solid stepping stone to your next part of your journey. And I tried to compile a list for you of how to stay on track. So let's go for it. One is to have a clear vision of yourself. Who is your best self, and how can you become that person? Who do you need around you? What do you need to do? When? Where do you need to be? Second, which is a really important one, is to have a clear, hugely clear, I can't stress it enough, clarity of purpose. And finding your true purpose does change over time, but you really need to sit down the beginning of your career, middle of your career, every year, and rewrite it. And it's not so easy. What do you want to be defined as? Who do you want to be defined as? Who do you want to work with? What do you want to do? One of my biggest tips for you is goal set, goal set, goal set. And I offer you through joining me in this talk, to download my free goal setting guide, print it out, write on it, do it once or twice a year, but really do it. And my analogy for goal setting, because I hear all the time from my clients and some of my teacher trainees, is why do I need to goal set? I know what I want to do, but it is really important. And here's what I say to you. If you were going to build the house of your dreams, would you just say to your contractor, have at it. Here's wood, nails, and concrete. Build my house. That may work, but are you going to get the house of your dreams that way? Absolutely not. The only way to get the house of your dreams is to almost agonizingly plan it out, from how many bedrooms, how many square feet, how high the walls, how many windows, where is it placed, and the list goes on and on. Sharing those with your contractor, and then he can or she can go on and build that house of your dreams. It's the same thing with your life. You just can't stumble through life and expect it to turn out the way you want without clear goal setting. So that's a really important one for me. Another one that I struggle with for a long time, and sometimes, not gonna lie, still struggle with, is to know your worth. Don't undercut yourself. Don't price yourself out of gigs either, but really know your worth and stick to your guns. Another important one, especially with the social media world, is don't be jealous. There are is so much work for everybody, and everybody comes from a different place with a different perspective, that jealousy is just a waste of time. And I want to flip the script with you on what jealousy is and maybe redefine it for you. When I find myself feeling that little well of jealousy, I now stop and think, why am I jealous? I'm jealous for one reason, because that other person has something that I want. And see that as a blessing, because now you have clarity and you know what you want, put it in your goals and go get it. So let's flip that and make jealousy a good thing. Another one, simple one, just trust your gut. I could tell you a million stories about how I didn't trust my gut sometimes, and while I have no regrets, I did learn from them. You want to learn to say no. If you say yes to everything, it's only going to build up resentment and burnout. So you want to be picky, you want to be choosy with your life. This is your precious time. So learn to say no. And you might make a mistake or two along the way, but you're going to turn that page too. Always be a student. No one is too great, no one is too large to keep learning, and life and perspectives change. So 10 years later, you could look at a book on your bookshelf and it'll have a totally different meaning for you and will teach you something totally different and new. You want to be unstoppable. A quick story, when I was in massage school the first day, they went around the room and they asked everybody what they wanted to do with this massage therapy degree. And everybody had these very noble things like work with the elderly, help people with cancer. And they came to me and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to work with professional athletes. And the whole room erupted with laughter. And that only fueled my fire to be unstoppable. And now, Power Yoga for Sports, 7 pro teams later, 2 Super Bowls. Who's laughing now, right? Be invaluable to your clients. Go above and beyond with every single thing you do, from the little things to the big things, so that they're always going to call on you. But most of all, be loyal and trustworthy. The best of the best will hire you. And I just want to close with this. Sometimes you'll misjudge that stone and the placement of that stone the universe throws at you, but don't have regrets. Just keep learning from it. The universe, I guarantee, will constantly throw stones, boulders, pebbles at you. And it's really up to you to strategically place those stones and build the path to your success. So I think that's all I have to say, and I really appreciate you choosing to listen to me. But persevere, be great. If you need anything, you can contact me through my website, gwenlawrence.com, and I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope I inspired you. Thank you.